up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I do say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do, or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Thursday, everybody. I am rolling solo today, and you guys know how that is, except today it's a little bit different. I didn't even realize where we were at in the episode count up until I had a guest asked to switch out of today's slot, which happens to be episode 1500, which is kind of wild to say overall, but we'll get into that. We're going to talk about some of these things here in a little bit, but we're going to jump in right away with my favorite segment. You guys know what it is. It is This Week in Freight, powered by my friends over at DAT. Again, you guys, this is 100% viewer submitted. So if you want your lane broken down on the show, I just need you to email my team, podcast@thefreightcoach.com. I need shipping city, delivery city, trailer type only. And then I just help you guys read freight markets, right? Like, this is the personal strategies that I implement in my business to win freight and move freight, because that's the difference between me and a lot of people on social media. I actually move the freight, and I do the job that I talk about every single day. So that being said, we are doing my bread and butter, which is flatbed. We are staying in the Midwest. It is Oklahoma City to Minneapolis, Minnesota. And for those of you who are newer to bidding on freight, one of the things that I look for the most is the miles. And because that just, the day of the week that this ships on vastly affects the rate at times, depending on the lane. There's a bunch of different parameters out there, but that's the first key piece of data that I look for as I'm assessing a freight market. This one, 800 miles, it's in that gray area, right? And what I mean by that is it's great Monday through Wednesday. If it had to be Thursday to Monday or Friday to Monday for whatever reason, you're going to see a higher price point on that, unless you get somebody who's Minnesota based or based in Iowa that it gets them home for the weekend. You might see a little bit of different rate on that compared to somebody who just needs to take it. And you might be into buying that truck mentality on this. But one thing I want you guys to be aware of, the stability factor, right? Because again, right now, a lot of people are selling on rates are all over the place, capacities, this and that, and everything under the sun. But now that we've been in this market for quite some time, the data tells a completely different story, and that is stable, right? Stability. And that's what we need to find and deliver out there to our customers, you guys, no matter what, right? Even if it is a volatile lane, you don't want to sell on fear to your customers, because that just tells them that you don't actually have the ability to do what you sold yourself on, and that is to secure long-term capacity for their freight. And, if you look at a market like this, or this lane in particular, like this is a power lane of power lanes in flatbed, right? Like Oklahoma City has a ton of flatbed freight. And then on top of that, it's the hottest market, I think, in the United States right now is Midwest flatbed. And what I mean by that is like rates are really high. Like, you're making really good money if you run flatbeds in the Midwest. We move this lane quite often. And we, but like some of our core carriers are based in the Midwest. They used to pick up some of our West Coast shippers for us. And they've told us, they're like, we're not leaving the Midwest until things change, because we make too good of money, and we get to run our trucks less miles, which reduces wear and tear, and then it helps them keep their fuel costs down as well, because fuel is cheaper in the Midwest than it is out West here. Like, it's like $7 a gallon, $8 a gallon in California, right? Like, it's insane out here. So it's like staying in the Midwest is smart, but like this lane's stable. I would, you might see a little bit of a summer dip in this lane. And what I mean by that is right about now, which is like middle of flatbed season, a lot of freight volumes start to slow down right now. Not everywhere. This is more of a blanket statement. You might see this from your customers, because a lot of their freight, like if you're looking at building and construction and a lot of stuff like that, a lot of these guys got their product. They're already building that stuff out there. So you might see less of a volume. And I think that's why you might see a little bit of a dip in rates here coming up. Not a lot, right? Like, I'm not going to say it's going to be cut in half or anything, but you'll see that as volumes tend to slow down around that summer lull. But I would expect this lane to probably perform the same here for at least all of August and September. And then things do start to cool off around October. And then especially when the snow starts flying in multiple parts of the country, that's when you really start to see the flatbed market start to cool off. But this one in particular, this is about as stable as you're going to find. You might pay a little bit higher on this, depending on the day of the week, but I think this is a great lane if you're moving it. And I would stick there and keep your rates as consistent as possible to your customers. And then again, as always, get that carrier base built up, you guys. You want that. You need that carrier base because at the end of the day, the last time I checked, brokers, we need trucks to be able to move our customers' freight. So that is Oklahoma City to Minneapolis flatbed. It is as stable as it can be out there in the market. Now to the topic of today. Like I was saying, I didn't even realize that today was episode 1500 up until a guest asked to switch out of this one, which I didn't even notice that they were scheduled for episode 1500. And this is like no joke. I don't remember the day that we published episode number 1, but it's been 6 years. It was late July. I was just, like just going back for those of you who are just kind of tuning in for the first time. Like when I started doing this, I was in the bedroom of the apartment, in my bedroom in the apartment that I had just moved into when we moved down here to Phoenix. And I just spent time, and I was just talking about this on Ben Wilkins' podcast. You guys should check that out. He's the cyber guy in freight. I was just talking about this. Like I Googled how to podcast, right? Like I had no idea what I was doing. And I started it because I was delivering pizzas at the time because I had just started my company and I was delivering pizzas on the side to, keep food on my family's plate. And I was listening to Gary Vee and it was like, what would I do if I was starting a business in 2020? He'd say, start a podcast, start interviewing your prospects, get people to come on. And, especially founders, like you're never going to find a founder that doesn't want to be interviewed. So I did all of that. Ironically, nobody wanted to come on the show early on because they're like, who the hell is this Chris Jolly guy? What's a freight coach? What are you even doing? But eventually, through a lot of work, we got it built up, right? Like at this point, I'm breathing very rare air. What I mean by that is nobody's been creating content at the level that I have in regards to a podcast in transportation over these 6 years, but me. All right. Like very rarely do I toot my own horn, but nobody's done this amount of volume of episodes, especially as a solo creator that is not associated or attached to any media company that is inside of the industry, right? Like I've been solo and on my own the entire time. I've never had any affiliations with any media company. I've done it independently, and I'm glad I did, right? Like I'm glad I chose to hold out and wait for the results to come in because, early, like I've been offered, right? Like I've been offered a lot of money to bring my show onto some of these media companies' platforms. And I legitimately am glad I didn't, right? Like I've been able to build a very nice business from this, which I never thought that this was going to grow into the business that it has, right? Like I'm very fortunate to have the advertisers that I do. I mean, SPI Logistics has been the longest advertiser of mine. They've been with me since 2022. And I met them at a trade show. I was invited by the TMSA, the Transportation Marketing and Sales Association. I was invited by them to come to their conference in Orlando to talk about creating content and to do my podcast from there. And I met Mike Mikulik and James Lemon from SPI, and it has turned into a relationship and a partnership that every entrepreneur dreams of. They have been so supportive of me in both of my ventures, right? Like my brokerage that I run, we're an independent agent with SPI, and they took a chance on me in the sense of like, I had no existing book of business when I had said like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Can I do it with you guys? And they have always supported me. They've always been They've had my back, because like early on, it was when I first started, a lot of people thought it was very controversial that I said fuck on my show. All right. That was the one thing that I heard repeatedly from prospective advertisers is they're like, you curse too much. It's too edgy for us. We don't want that association with our brand and everything else. And it's like, cool. I get it. Right. Like no harm, no foul. But SPI has been there since day one. They've, on the contrary, have never spoken to me about anything. Like they were never concerned about any of that stuff. I mean, neither one of us knew what it was going to turn into when we first started, but like they've been there with me since day one, essentially, right? Like, and it's like to have a partnership like that and a support system like that behind the scenes is it is truly a relationship that every entrepreneur dreams of having, and I just couldn't be more appreciative than that, right? And then Revenova has been with me now. This is my second year with them. They're the TMS that I use inside of my brokerage as well. Same thing, NMFTA. We're coming up on 2 years together here as well, and they've been a longtime supporter of the show. They've invited me out to their cybersecurity conference to do my show from there. Like this will be like I think the fifth one that I'm going to this year. But that relationship started 5 years ago. At this time, same with the TIA, right? Like the TIA just got on board here with me a couple of months ago, but they've been a long supporter of everything that I've done. They invited me to their conferences to do my show, to speak, all of that stuff. And it's been wild to see what that came up to. And then I'm just truly honored to have them have the faith in me to come out and, be an advocate, not only for their brand, but for the freight brokerage community. And then, DAT, being the official data partner, we've been working on this relationship for a couple of years now. And when all the stars aligned, I told them, I'm like, I want to bring a data component to the episode, to the podcast that nobody else is doing. And what I mean by that, like when we do these market reports, like all of the stuff that I teach you guys about how I read markets and assess these things, days of the week, transit time, all of that stuff, those factors that come into pricing, that's what I've applied in my business for the entirety of my career. But those are the strategies that I've implemented to build a multi-7-figure freight brokerage over these last 36 months, right? Like, so they wanted to be a part of it from that education standpoint. And, when I first started all of this stuff back then, it was like, I just wanted to put education and insight into the industry, right? Like I wanted to talk about the best practices that when I say best practices, I'm not sitting here saying I know everything. I don't at all. I'm learning every single day, but I know a lot about this industry. I've been doing this job for a very long time. I've hauled freight for some of the largest logos in the United States. I know how to operate at a very high level, but I've never done it on my own before. And that was kind of like that when that shift happened to get back into the trenches I kind of felt like a hypocrite early on as I was giving all of this advice, but I wasn't actually applying it in my business. And what I mean by that is, I was a consultant, right? Like I was a sales and ops trainer by hire. That's what my first business was. And, I had a solid customer base, but I wanted to bring a different angle to the content space in regards to, I'm going to build a brokerage from scratch with the tactics and strategies that I personally talked about. And I'm going to say, just sit back and watch, and I'm going to do it. Right. Because like everybody's got an excuse for everything. And I'm putting myself at the front of that line. I had an excuse for everything, but I wanted to put something out there and just like build up a playbook of information for people, because a lot of people come into this industry. Some people are very fortunate to work for a very solid organization. I was, right. Like, I always say XPO was my first employer. They're now RXO, but like they had acquired the company I had started with. But like I received such good training from that experience alone that springboarded the rest of my career. But not everybody had that. And the more people I talked to, I was in the minority of people who had really good training early on. There's a lot of people who had a lot of figure it out on their own, figure out best practices and all of that stuff. And, I wanted, and that's like the main driver of a lot of what we do is we put best practices out there because not everybody can afford to shut their business down to go to a conference, right? To learn about a lot of this stuff. And a lot of people create, they put a lot of content out there, but they have a paywall behind some of that stuff. And fortunately, I don't have to do any of the paywall level content because like I have phenomenal advertisers who help support the show and they want to be a part of it. And we can do this for free every single day for you guys as the audience, right? Like you guys get to tune into this and we speak to people from all walks of this industry to make this happen. And, it started off just talking about freight brokerage, but now we have almost every vertical covered inside of transportation where people can listen to this. There's no, like my ask is if you guys want to support the show, share it, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, just a couple clicks of a button on there, but like hit up my advertisers if that's what you want to do, right? But it's not required. And again, it's like all the information that we put out there is going to continue to remain free as I build my brokerage to bigger revenue numbers and build teams and do all of that stuff. We're going to talk about all of that stuff on here. So that's what's on the map for the next 1,500 episodes, right? Is as the evolution and growth of my company hits, we're going to talk about more of that stuff, right? Lessons learned, mistakes that we've made, and, a lot of those things, because like, that's what I'm choosing to utilize content for. I don't want to fall into, there's this adage in media that says if it bleeds, it reads. I could say some very controversial shit on this show. It would probably 10x my engagement, maybe 100x my engagement. I could play the virality. I could play into all of that. But what stops me is it's just not who I am, right? Like I don't like cutting down other individuals, especially, people made mistakes and stuff like that. And I don't want to make a dollar off of somebody else's demise. But I look at it where nobody is doing what I'm doing, in my opinion, right? I'm not saying that there aren't other creators out there that don't take this approach, but like I wanted to focus on education and insight because I wanted to make this for a very long time. This is a career. This is a passion project for me, right? Like I had no idea that I had a creative bone in my body until I started this show. And, I get to use this to build up. This is a vertical integration into my freight brokerage, right? Like this is a big revenue engine that helps me onboard shippers and builds that familiarity with my prospects, because when you leverage a multi-channel sales approach, i.e. cold calling, emailing, social media, you connect with these individuals. And then if you post content at the volume that we do, there's a really good probability that they see my face or my name popping up on their feed. And then there's a higher probability that the next time my company reaches out, they might respond, right? And it's happened. It's literally happened. I've been making cold calls and the person who answered the phone, they're like, wait a second, Chris Jolly. They're like, are you on LinkedIn? I'm like, yeah, that's me. And then all of the pressure of a cold call went away and we ended up talking for like 20 minutes, right? And that's somebody who we work with now. And it's all just built up organically through that. So it's like, I've been able to vertically integrate this into my business, right? So it's amazing to do. And I think it just starts, right? Like again, back to like what I was saying is like the cursing's been the biggest criticism of this show the entire time, but intent is everything. You don't make it 1,500 episodes if your intent is bad. And that's what I mean by the bleeds, why I'll never take part of the, if it bleeds, it reads, because like, I don't want to do that, right? Like that would benefit me in the short term, but long term, it would eventually fade away. It's the boy who cried wolf syndrome and all of that stuff. And I just don't want any part of that. And, I also looked this up too, about like the data of podcasts alone. 90% of podcasts that are started stop after the third episode. They quit after the third episode. Episode 20 of the 10% remaining, another 90% quit after episode 20. And only 7% of people who start a podcast make it to episode 100. Now, the rare air that I was mentioning earlier, less than 0.01% of all podcasts make 1,500 episodes. Like that is wild to think about, right? And I go back, I've seen so many people kind of come and go from the creator space and transportation over these last 6 years. And, it's like I kind of see the same playbook being played time and time again out there, right? Like it's kind of crazy to see. But it's like, again, like, what's your intent? If like, because when I first started, like, yeah, man, I wanted to go viral. I wanted to be famous. I wanted all of that shit. And now it's like the least of my fucking concern, right? Like, I just want to help one person every single day. Like that is my absolute mission with this show, is helping one person every single episode that we release. If we accomplish that, we change the world. And I truly think that way, right? Like, you look at 15, like if I like 1,500 lives, if I look back, and I would do one person an episode, 1,500 episodes. Could you imagine speaking in front of 1,500 people? That's a filled up room, right? Like, that's a lot of people. And the beauty of social media is we've reached millions and millions of people at this point, right? Millions and millions of views across platforms and all of that. So it's kind of crazy. And, like, where it all started, but like some of those key fundamentals, it's that, we kind of already talked about like transactional versus relational, right? Like, I like building relationships with people in the industry, across the industry, because like I can become a resource to help others, right? When you're like, hey, I mean, the DMs that I get about, hey, I saw your episode on truck financing. Can you introduce me to them? Or, insurance and technology and all of that stuff. Like, we can do that, right? And like, to me, it's like we're making the industry better with that. And I also, because it's like, and back to relationships, a lot of people use that as a crutch. But to me, relationships are curated over time, and it is good, bad, or indifferent. You need to show up in those relationships, because most people, at the first sign of adversity, they quit, they run, they hide. They're not real partners. They're not invested. They're a transactional relationship connoisseur, you can call it. They're only there when it's easy. And then as soon as shit gets hard, they run and hide. And if you can push through some of that stuff, you will become a diamond in the rough in whatever industry that you go after. I just look at, another thing too, and there's so many correlations, between how this show was built, how my brokerage was built, and how a lot of people, if you want to go out there and just start doing anything, is I heard this analogy. I'm a massive Andy Frisella loyalist. He talks about the 24-hour rule a lot. I would go and follow him because I've like legitimately applied his entire playbook to stuff. And, I was just talking about this the other day, is he was a big reason, starting, like, if I look back and I'm like, if I didn't, like, I would have started this one way or another, but I don't know if I would have pushed through a lot of the early turmoil that every founder goes through without sage advice from an individual like Andy Frisella. And, again, like, I don't know him personally. We don't text or anything like that. I'm in the Arate Syndicate, his coaching group, but like his early content on the MF CEO project, the Real AF project, talking about that. And it's like, you just got to build this up one at a time, right? Like, and there's another book out there called The Power of One More. Ed Mylett wrote it. And it's like, you're one conversation away from changing your life. Like, if I go and I look at all of my shippers that I work with, that was one more call that I made. That was one more email that I sent, one more video that I had sent to them that eventually built up into the relationships that I have with them. All of my advertisers down here, it was saying yes to an opportunity. It was one more phone call. It was one more little video that I made early on that got me noticed, that got me on somebody's radar. It's just that power of one more, and it's compounding and it's showing up every single day, right? Like, there's days, like, even this deep into it, there's days where, I'm like, God, why am I doing this? Only 40 people attended the live stream or something like that. But then it's like, you get a DM from somebody who's like, hey, I applied what you said on the show. I got business. Thank you for doing what you're doing. That's why. And it's like, it's just showing up time and time again. Because the wins are rare, right? Like if most of you guys are on social media, and there's individuals across every industry who seemingly only talk about how much they win. I think 99% of those are lies, or they are embellishments from past wins because, again, I have been self-employed now for over 6 years. I've had some really good wins, but it's not every day. It's not every week. It's not every month. Sometimes it's every 6 months. Sometimes it's every 3 quarters. Sometimes it's once a year where we get a massive win and then it's back to the day-to-day operations, right? And like I've talked about, systems development has been the hardest thing for me in business. And that's because you have a lot of good ideas, but there's a vast wasteland between idea and execution. And then you have to execute upon that idea a lot to get to the point to see like, hey, is this starting to work? We have a system in place now for the podcast where, again, finding guests early on was a challenge. Now we're booked like 6 weeks in advance at all times. And, as soon as our shows are done, our guests receive, like we give, like we don't charge people to come on the show, right? Like if you ever want to come on the show, just email my team, podcast@thefreightcoach.com, DM me, we'll get you scheduled. I want to talk to people. And again, we don't charge anybody to come on here. And then like we give you access to the whole episode. Once it's all done, we give you the whole video file. We give you social media clips already cut and edited for yourself. We give you thumbnails for it. And my team will extract more clips for you if you need them, right? Like it takes us 5 seconds because we have the system in place. We have the technology in place. And if that video helps you land business for you appearing on my show, like that's what it's all about to me. So I think of it and I look at it where it's like, dude, those little things like that just matter the most. It matters for the longevity of it all. And, when you strip it all away, I'm just a country boy from northern Wisconsin who comes from a family of truck drivers who fucking loves the transportation industry. I eat, sleep, and breathe this shit because I have that family connection, right? And every time I smell diesel, I think of my dad. Every time I hear a Jake brake, I think of my dad. Every time I see a fucking cab over or like an old school Pete 379 fucking rolling down the freeway, like I am just a giddy little kid with it. And to me, it's the greatest industry out there. And the fact that I built a couple of businesses all from it, is all by the grace of God, but B, all because we live in the greatest country on the face of this earth. And I couldn't do this anywhere else in the world. I couldn't speak as freely as I do and build the business the way that I do in any other country but the United States of America. And that's what I love the most about all of this stuff when it all goes away. But, to everybody who's commented out there, Corey Buchan, he's one of the longest. He's here every day. Fucking love the guy. Shows up all the time. Massive supporter of it. Parker Cheney, what's going on, man? 1,500 episodes is insane. And I appreciate that about being the best in the game. And then Doug Lee, 6079. He's a single truck carrier that hauls cattle. And I listen to the show all the time. Thanks for what we do. Cattle haulers are my fucking spirit animals, dude. You guys are the best. I love seeing cattle hauler videos on social media. It's fucking amazing. You guys are awesome. But that's going to be it, you guys. Cheers to 1,500. The past 1,500. Cheers to 1,500 more. We're going to continue to show up, and we're going to continue to fix this industry for what it is because it's going to come from us. Nobody's coming to save this industry but us. And the best people in this industry got to step up, got to say it. And we're going to make this industry, we're going to make trucking great again, as they say out there, you guys. But that's going to be it. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang. Window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the back.